Do you know what? It is frustrating. Like you said, it's nice to know that I'm consistently getting a decent score. He's so clever. He might not be the quickest bowler, and like you said, the most fashionable bowler, but he is clever. He knows how to get a background. He knows how to work people. We're coming for the urn. You might as well send it back first delivery now if you can.
Backyard Cricket England is now in partnership with Telsa Media, a digital marketing agency with offices both at home in the UK and abroad. For all your digital business needs, call 0203 322 3098, email hello@telsamedia.com or visit www.telsamedia.com. Backyard Cricket England, now proudly sponsored by Telsa Media.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the BCE Get to Know podcast, where we'll be getting to know all the members of our 2023 Ashes backyard campaign. Later on in this year, we're going to be meeting all of the players one by one and getting to know them, their stories in the game, and how they've led up to this brilliant moment for backyard cricket, the first ever international Ashes series. And I'm delighted to introduce a very, very special guest to the podcast today. This player has been playing for his local club, Wallington, in Surrey for about 7 or 8 years now. He's made 165 appearances, a final rounder. He's produced more than 2,000 runs for the club, including 8 50s and a best of 94 not out. He is also the proud holder of almost 150 wickets for the club and more than 50 catches. He was a member of the 2019 promotion-winning side for Wallington, and he ranks inside the top 30 for both runs and wickets in Wallington club history. He's also played a few sporadic games for local club Woodside Green, where he was involved in the 2021 Invincibles campaign, the famous summer where they went unbeaten throughout the whole season. In backyard cricket, he's been one of the linchpins, one of the rocks of BCE cricket, a fine and consistent batsman, and now the current skipper of BCE North, just completed his first campaign as a captain. He is the 5th highest run scorer in the format, past 400 test runs this year. He's also 5th in the wickets and was the top scorer for Dan's 11 in the 2021 campaign. I am delighted and honoured to be able to welcome Yousaf Sharif to the Backyard Cricket England podcast. Yousaf, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Oh, he's cleaned him. Brilliant from Yousaf Sharif.
He can be frustrating to bowl against, you know, if you just don't know.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, that's the best shot of the test match.
It's 4 and it's 50. Well played, Yousaf Sharif.
Well, the first thing we'll start with then, we've touched on Wallington there. You have been playing for Wallington for a long time. Is that your first club? Was that your first club, or had you played... You joined Wallington around about the age of 18, 19, somewhere in that area. Presumably that wouldn't be your first intro into club cricket, would it?
No, it wasn't my first intro into club cricket. I think my first intro into club cricket was through a friend up in primary school. So we were in a cricket team.
Would that be James Maguire by any chance?
No, we knew each other in high school.
Ah, gotcha.
This is a different guy. His name was Musa. Was his nickname. He played for Old Wits. So I joined there for a little while as a colt. Went to Addiscombe as well, and later on when I got into high school, was playing at Addiscombe for a little bit as a colt. And
so these are all Surrey-based clubs. Presumably you sort of grew up, born and raised in Surrey.
Yeah.
Can you remember your first introduction to the game as a child? Would that be Surrey and county cricket? Were you introduced to it by test matches, or maybe a family member who played for a local club? Just give us an idea of your sort of first memories of the game and what struck you about the game as a child, your very first sort of memories of cricket and how you got involved in it.
My first memories of the game was from my grandparents, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's from my grandparents. So, obviously, my heritage comes from Pakistan. They were from Pakistan, so huge rivalry between India, right?
Yep,
massive rivalry. So whenever they played each other, my grandparents would get the flags out, and it'd be like everyone would be really up and excited for the game. Like we'd get together as a whole family even to watch some of the games, Pakistan versus India.
So this is presumably like World Cups.
Yes,
Like this.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. World Cup.
Are you of the age where you would remember when India and Pakistan used to play bilateral series, or is that maybe a bit too soon for you?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too soon. I can't really remember. I just remember seeing them play sometimes on TV, and it was specifically on those days where they'd be playing India and they'd get the flags out.
So growing up then, obviously you've mentioned there Pakistan heritage, Pakistan supporting family, and Pakistan would be the thing that got you into cricket would be watching those games. Was there ever a conflict, having been sort of raised in Surrey, was there ever any conflict for you as whether to be an England fan, a Pakistan fan, or has it always just been Pakistan and that's been the be all and end all for you?
It's always been Pakistan.
Always has.
Through and through Pakistan.
Ever since you can remember, always that way.
Yeah.
So,
But if they get kicked out in the World Cup and England are in the final, I'm an
you've
England
always got a
supporter.
backup option.
Yeah, I've always got a backup option.
But presumably, if England and Pakistan get knocked out, you're not going to support India.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Maybe when hell freezes over. So for you then, just tell us a little bit about your heroes growing up. What kind of players did you look up to, either in Pakistan or anywhere else in the world? Who would be your do you remember your first cricketing hero?
My first cricketing hero. It was probably Shoaib Akhtar, I think.
Shoaib?
Yeah. He was like, I just remember like him running in off this long runner.
I remember the crazy eyes as well, and the veins popping, and the wild action,
And his hair like
all over the place. Yeah.
He was like one of my first heroes, and I think I remember when me and my friend Mus used to play in at playtime. We'd play with like a little tennis racket and a little ball. We'd be playing cricket, and we like pick a country. So obviously I'd be Pakistan, or like he'd pick a different. Sometimes he'd be Pakistan versus England. And I'd be like, oh yeah, whenever I'm Pakistan, I'm like, I'm Shoaib Akhtar running.
Yeah, so you were never Yousaf Sharif in the playground. You were Shoaib running in. Yeah.
Shoaib Akhtar.
I think the same as a lot of kids. For me personally, I was Steve Harmison running in as a kid. So similar sort of bowler, well, different types of bowler, but same pace.
Yes.
Well, you just want to be them, don't you? The stumps rattling and all this.
Had the off stump cartwheeling. Yeah, it's amazing feeling. Yeah. And Inzamam Haq as well was.
Inzi, of course, fantastic player as well. Would he have been the captain at the time you were growing up, or was that Yousaf's team?
I think he was the captain.
It was Inzi.
I think he was the captain. Yeah. It was great batsman. Oh my goodness.
Oh, absolutely.
Couldn't really run that.
Runs about as well as I.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're that great.
Fantastic player. And so obviously we're talking about childhood here.
Yeah.
When would you first have played the game, even if not necessarily for a club? Do you have any memories of maybe just playing in the garden or playing with family members? Do you remember roughly what age you first started to want to play rather than watch the game?
It was my grandparents. There was a couple of friends of mine. So Mus was one of them, and it was actually this other guy called Jordan. He was one of our friends. And he sort of got into cricket a bit later. He came to the park a bit later, but literally it was just me and Mus. Like we'd go to the park and we'd just play with each other. I'd be bowling at him. He was really good as well. So I've been bowling for quite a while.
And are you still in touch? Is this?
We're still hardly talk, but we are like in touch. We talk here now and again.
Well, this presumably would be your best mate from childhood.
Best mate from childhood. Yeah. So then I'll be bowling to him for hours, and we'd be playing in the park. We'd be playing with his family, like his family. I remember once we went to the park, and his whole family came down, and it had a massive cricket match in the park, and it was like a little picnic, like loads of people there.
It is. You look back on it now; those are the days of your life, really, aren't they? Carefree, family, all in the park, knocking up all around. Those are the days of your life. You must have obviously. It sounds like for you, the immediate impression I'm getting here is that cricket is a very family orientated. If I look at someone like, for example, myself, cricket for me was outside of family, more with friends and more at sort of school and local club. But it sounds like for you, cricket is very much a family affair and something that maybe the family bonds over, a bit of friendly competition.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Do you look back on that now with presumably a lot of pride's the right word, but a lot of nostalgia, a lot of sort of great memories.
Yeah, great memories, nostalgia. Yeah, and just that getting the flags out. You know, little things like that, getting the flags out for a big occasion.
Well, there is a World Cup coming up this year.
There is a World Cup.
Do the flags come out again? Does that still happen in the family?
It doesn't happen as much anymore. Although saying that, we went to my auntie's house a few years ago to watch the World Cup, and she did actually get a couple of the flags out, and that was.
Well, what I'm
fun.
specifically thinking of here is, I think it was 2017, the Champions Trophy final of India and Pakistan.
Oh.
Presumably that would have been a big event for your family and a big event for you.
That was a massive event.
Which Pakistan obviously won as well, so probably a great day for you as well.
It's batted amazingly.
I remember Mohammed Amir spell at the top. He destroyed that top order, didn't he? Yeah. Remember him getting Kohli out, and the atmosphere, the noise in the ground was just deafening, wasn't it?
Yeah, retired too early, I think. He was
He was quite.
Because he retired from Test
31,
quite early. Yeah, he was a great bowler.
But obviously, there are plenty of things we could say about the history of Pakistan cricket for better or for worse. But it is interesting we talk about that, because we'll stick with the topic of being a fan before we move on to you as a player. Do you want to just give us an idea then, if we look in your sort of childhood or early teenage years, Pakistan cricket went through some significant events. You went through winning a World T20 in around 2007-ish. You've got the Lahore terrorist attacks with the Sri Lanka team in 2009. Yeah. And then 2010, the no ball scandal with Mohammed Amir and Mohammed Azif. For you as a child, what was that like when these are your heroes and you're just sort of getting to learn the game as a sort of teenager, just sort of getting into the game? Pakistan really sends you on quite a journey as a fan, doesn't it? Do you remember those moments specifically, those key moments?
I remember the Mohammed Amir no ball. That one. I remember.
Do you know how old you would have been then?
That was when I was in high school, so I think I was probably maybe I was in year 8. So I think I was probably about.
You're talking around 14, 15, that kind of age?
Yeah, maybe a little bit younger, maybe 12, 13, maybe around then. I remember that very well. But in terms of Pakistan, they're up and down anyway, aren't they?
Yeah,
They either perform out of their skin,
and I don't think I've
ever
seen a Pakistan team go out of a World Cup at, say, the quarterfinals. It's always the group stage, or they win it.
That's it. So with Pakistan, you're kind of used to it, really. Like we're having a little, like controversial moments, or. Obviously, the Mohammed Amir no ball thing was a bit, and the whole attacks, they were tragic moments in the game. But it's great to see now, cricket being played in Pakistan, England, we're out there.
Absolutely, yeah. And it is one of the things I have to say as a cricket fan, in recent years, Test cricket returning to Pakistan. Yeah. The pitches have let them down. Mm-hmm. They've been puddings. But aside from that, it is wonderful to see it back there, isn't it? There's so much passion for it in the country. And for expats such as yourself and your family who live abroad, the passion is still there. Yeah. Even if you leave Pakistan, they take the passion. Yeah. And it is wonderful to see cricket back there again, isn't it? Presumably that would have been a proud moment for you when that test first happened, when they went back to Pakistan a couple of years ago. I presume, would that have been something that was talked about in the family?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, definitely. It definitely was. And amongst my friends as well. It was definitely a proud moment, and it's nice. It's nice to see. It's good for the players as well. Some of these players, they go to Dubai and it's like empty stadiums, no atmosphere. Like you don't really want that. But now that these young players are getting to play on their home turf.
It's a key word, that homes. It finally is home soil. Yeah. If you look at Misbar's team that did really, really well for sort of 7-8 years, they never played at home. No. And that was a really good side, and it's a shame because I think the Pakistan public would have really taken to that team if they'd been allowed to see them. And it's such a shame to see almost a generation of cricket fans lost because there was no cricket out there. Yeah. But obviously they didn't lose you. You're still here with us, and we'll move on from being a fan. We can talk about Pakistan cricket all night, but we'll focus on you for the time being. Just tell us about your first entry. Presumably, like most of us, your first entry into playing the game would have been Colts rather than sort of thrust into an adult thing.
It was Colts, yeah. Do
you want to just sort of give us an idea of what you first felt about playing the game, what it was like for you, what you enjoyed, maybe what you disliked about it, as you're sort of starting off on that journey? And what age would you have been when you actually joined a team and started?
In terms of cults, I've got. It's bittersweet because obviously I love the game, but when I was a cult, the cult system that they have now wasn't really in place.
Who was it? Presumably that's not Wallington.
No, it wasn't Wellington. No, it wasn't Wellington. It was the clubs like Addiscombe, Old Wits. You know, these clubs that have their. I even played for Sanderstead for a little while as well.
Which just to be clear for those watching who don't know the clubs we're talking about, those are some of the larger, more reputable clubs in the Surrey area. Big clubs. We're not talking sort of local dog and duck 11.
No,
these are decent sites.
Yeah, and the reason why I joined these clubs is because my friends would go there, and obviously I'd follow my friends, and one would leave, and then I'd leave and go to the next club with them. But yeah, the cult system that they have now, where they sort of rotate it, right? They rotate.
Yeah.
If you batted this week, you'll bowl next week,
and you'll go down the order, and then
so
everyone has to get a game, and which is really important. In club cricket,
100%, and obviously
is that something you enjoyed, or were you the type of kid back then who wanted to just stay in one position and do one job every week?
But that's the thing. Whereas they had their set 11, and I didn't really get a chance to get into.
So you came into quite a settled team.
Yeah, I came into quite a settled team, and I didn't really get a look in because maybe I wasn't as good as the other kids at that age. Maybe I was like a.
What age are we talking here? Would this be early teens or much younger?
Early teens.
So your entry into club cricket is relatively late. If you think a lot of people start sort of 7 or 8.
Yeah.
You would have started maybe 10, 11, 12?
Yeah, because before that it was just like cricket in the park mostly with my friends. And stuff like that.
Did you find when you started playing club cricket, was it something that you had a natural aptitude for, or did you find that as soon as you went into the dressing room you were able to just hit the ball sweet and bowl brilliantly, or were you more the kind of player who had to work a bit harder, maybe took a bit longer to? Yeah,
I was definitely a player that had to work a bit harder because after that whole period, because I couldn't get into a team, I played. So during that time, I played during high school. I played in high school, just outside of high school, like playing for a club. I never really played, and I had loads of good memories during high school, and after that. So after that, then I stopped playing after high school. After I left high school, I stopped playing for 5, 6, 7 years, I think. And so then that's when I joined Wallington, because my old high school mate they were short on a Saturday.
So sort of come down to help maybe one day.
Yeah, come down to help. And they were really nice, so I was like, they were a nice bunch of people.
Well, nice enough that you're still there to this day, obviously. And obviously, as the stats we heard earlier, a prominent member of the side, 2,000 runs, 150 wickets.
Yeah.
The promotion season you've been a part of as well, and that's obviously something that we will come to. Yeah. Just want to stick with the childhood theme for a moment and just ask then, obviously this kind of time would be when you first met Jimmy Maguire as well. Yeah. For those obviously might be aware from our channel, Jimmy Maguire, very prominent player in backyard cricket as well, someone that Yousaf has known for a very, very long time. Any club cricket with him at all? Did you and him click straight away? Do you want to just tell us about your relationship with Jimmy during your sort of teenage years? Obviously, I understand you were friends. Yeah. Were you very, very close friends, or was it more casual and then that closeness came later kind of thing?
I think it was more casual at the start, and then the closeness came later on. He was a great bowler in our side and one of the key players in our high school team. I think he was the one that helped me, that told me about Addiscombe, and that's when I joined Addiscombe as well through him. I played.
Yeah, obviously his family with Rob as well. They have a strong connection with Addiscombe, so that makes sense, obviously. And obviously in this time, obviously you're a little bit younger than me, a few years younger than me, but sort of if we're roughly the same generation, our generation when we were growing up saw the real change in cricket towards the proliferation of one-day cricket. And 2020 cricket becoming huge. Yeah. Where were you on that as a kid? Were you the type of kid who was more traditional, Test cricket as number one, or did you really embrace the 2020, the one-day side of it? What sort of side of the fence were you as a youngster?
I think I embraced the side of new cricket, like 2020 cricket. It was quite new. Things like the 100 now, I'm not too sure of. I think they're getting a bit too smart.
I profess to not personally be a huge fan of that.
Yeah. But like things like 2020 cricket, I think 2020 cricket is great. I mean, I feel like it's gotten, non-cricketers you never really watched a game, never really played cricket they've gotten into cricket through 2020 cricket, and I think it was great and I loved it. And in 2009, when we won in your backyard, 2009 2020 World Cup.
I just have to say, for the point of clarity here, as a proud Welshman, not my backyard. Not my backyard. The neighbour's backyard.
The neighbour's backyard. That was a great moment for me, and those I went to quite a few of those games actually. I missed days of school.
Oh, actually, so you were part of that. Were you at the final?
I wasn't at the final, but I remember we went to Edgbaston. I went there with my family.
If I recall, that was a tournament. Was that the same tournament where England got beaten by Holland in the first game? Was that same one?
I think
so we had very different tournaments for
games.
And
I remember Pakistan and Sri Lanka were playing, and that was when Kumar Sangakkara was like hot. That was when he was in the team, he was in his prime, and everyone in school, they're like, oh, you're gonna lose. And in my head I was thinking, obviously I was giving up, bro. I was like, nah, don't worry, we're gonna win. But in my head I was thinking, whoa.
Do you know, that's an interesting question to touch on, actually. We might as well ask you that while we're here. Obviously, you've mentioned already the relationship between Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
And the rivalry with that. What was your impression growing up for yourself and for your family when it comes to Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, the other sort of neighbouring nations?
Yeah.
Would you regard Pakistan v Sri Lanka as a rivalry, so to speak, or are they just another team and you've got no sort of ill will towards them? Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with the other countries around Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I guess in modern times, Afghanistan as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think. Would I say? No, I personally, I don't see them as rivals. I just see them.
So it wouldn't make you unhappy to see Sri Lanka win a World Cup. It wouldn't be a kind of, oh no, those guys have won it, in the way that it would be for India.
No, exactly. If it was India, yeah, I'd be fuming.
So talk to me about 2011 and India winning that. How was that for you?
I kind of walked myself into that one.
So presumably that final, you'd have been cheering on Sri Lanka.
Yeah. Oh, you got to. You have to. Yeah, you have to.
How was it in the family home when India won?
It's very quiet. It's never.
Did you watch the full game, or was it one of them where as soon as it became clear when Dhoni was getting the runs and they were coming towards it, just switch it off? Switch it off.
Just switch it off. Get it off. Turn it off. Get on with our day. Miserable day.
So we'll move on to sort of your adult life in cricket then. We've obviously touched on the childhood a little bit there. Still playing for Wallington, presumably. Still happy, a massive part of the team. You're in the first 11. You have captained the first 11 on occasions. A key part of the team. Just tell us a little bit about the club. Is there anything, while we've got the viewers here, that you want to say about Wallington? Anything that you want to share with us about that club and why you've formed such a connection with it over the years?
Yeah, it's a great club. It's got some really, really great people in there. We recently had our centenary year.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay. That was last year. It was last year actually. Last year was our centenary year, and we did a cricket week for that. And that was that was nice. Just from my first game there, when I played, I think the first question I asked my friend was, "Oh, what are they like?" Because that's the key thing, right? Are they like? Because obviously I hadn't played in ages. I'm not going to be good.
Yeah, and you can be as good as you want as a team, but if the atmosphere is not right, you'll never enjoy. You could enjoy a losing team more if the people are right.
Yeah.
So that would have been a big thing for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. That was the first thing I was worried about. And then he said, "No, they're good. They're friendly and stuff." So I was like, I played, and I wasn't that great. Like I was one of those players because I hadn't played since high school. I had to train on my own. I watched it because then the thing with me is if I start getting into something, I become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And then I'm for hours watching YouTube videos and training, doing extra net sessions and stuff like that. I can't even tell you how many times I went to extra net sessions with a couple of my friends. Just get better at batting because batting is my favourite. I love batting.
So you would consider yourself, obviously, those of us that have played with you and know you obviously see you as an all-rounder.
Yeah.
You would consider yourself a batting all-rounder rather than a bowler who can bat.
I'd rather, because I think that's what I'm
So you'd be more of a Callis than a, say, Imran Khan.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Because it's just because I just enjoy batting more than I do bowling. Some would say that my bowling is better than my batting. To them I say screw you. But no, I enjoy batting the most, and I think that's what I try and spend a lot of time working on in the nets and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that shows through as well. We've obviously mentioned the stats for the backyard cricket at the start, very consistent as a batsman, and we're going to come on to backyard cricket in a moment. But before we do, just very, very quickly, I think it's only fair to mention for you with Wallington, we'll just give you a chance to just give us a very, very quick comment on the 2019 promotion campaign. Now, I looked into some of the numbers for this. You made the second most appearances when the club were promoted. You made 19 games out of 20 that year. You were the second highest run scorer. It's the highest you've averaged with the bat in a season for Wallington in your whole time there. And you were also the third highest wicket taker and took your career best figures of 6 for 13 in that season. And the club were promoted up to, I believe, Division 2 of the Surrey Championship, which is quite a high standard of the league. Would that be your finest memory of Wallington so far? And just very, very quickly before we move on to the backyard games, just give us a little idea of what that was like for you and what it's like to play a part in such a successful side for you.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great moment. It came down to the last game of the season though.
Oh, we went right to the wire.
It came down to the right. So that game, I think it was Roehampton, they were ahead of us. That game, if we'd won that game, we would have been champions.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we would have been champions. It was still an amazing, like Simon Letts, he was our captain, amazing captain. I mean, he's the first time we've been promoted since, I think it was like since the 90s without an overseas player.
So a long dry spell for the club.
Yeah, so without an overseas player. So that was...
It's obviously fond memories.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'll come to the main point of this interview, which is we're here to talk about the backyard game. Of course we can. So do you want to just give us an idea then to start with of how you first became aware of BCE? And obviously a couple of us had met you very briefly. You played the odd club game for mine and other players' club side. You played the odd game here and there.
Yeah.
How did you become aware of the backyard cricket, and what were your initial thoughts before you played your first game? Had you ever played anything like that before, and what were you expecting as you came into it? Just tell us how you got involved and where your initiation into the indoor game, the backyard game, came from.
Yeah, so like, as you said, like I knew yourself and a few other people from your club, which like Green, and so yeah, I obviously knew a few of you then from that, and I think I remember you guys saying that you wanted to start like an indoor test series, one days. During the winter, and I believe it was for the Ashes series coming up.
Yes, which obviously we'll touch on. But at the time, did you know about Australia? Did you know about that trip, or as far as you were aware, was it just an indoor league?
It was just an indoor.
And presumably, would it be Jimmy?
Yes,
Jimmy
it was
Maguire
Jimmy. That's it. It was Jimmy who told me about it.
Yeah, because I remember you played a couple of games. Obviously, Woodside Green being my club team and the club team of a lot of the boys in BCE. You played a couple of games. I think you played a 2-day match for us. We had a test match down at Bromley Common.
Yeah, and
made a really good impression in that game. So you wouldn't have known really, apart from Jimmy, you wouldn't really have known anybody that well.
Yeah.
So just tell us about that first series then. You've never played anything like that before. You don't know the team that well.
Yeah.
Just tell us about the first series. You played the first 2 tests and missed the last one.
Yeah.
Those first 2 games, how was it for you, not just as a player adapting to the game and getting used to a new type of cricket, but getting used to a new group of people?
Yeah.
And a lot of people who'd known each other a long, long time and almost coming in as a sort of outsider into that. Did you feel welcomed? Was it difficult to start with? And how was it while trying to make an impression on the pitch as well?
Oh no, I felt welcome straight away. I mean, it was nice to have Jimmy there. You know, when you go with someone and you know someone,
it's nice to have someone that you know.
there that you can always talk to if you do feel left out. But no, I felt so welcome. All of you guys were really lovely. Got along with you guys straight away. And in terms of getting used to the indoor cricket, I was just really excited and I really, really enjoyed it. I really, like the first time I played with you guys on the indoor in the backyard cricket, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and I think my memory of you, obviously in that series I was one of the captains, and for the first couple of games that you played in that series, you were on my team.
Yeah.
So obviously I was in charge of helping you feel welcome and helping sort of get to know who you were as a player, you getting to know us as a player.
Yeah.
My first impression of you that I remember when you came into that backyard team, first and foremost, I think a lot of people would still say the same about you now, 3 years down the line. One of the nicest people we've ever had to play backyard cricket. But also, I got the impression with you early on, and it's something that's become a theme of your cricket over the last 3 years, very hardworking. I always, and I've played against you the following year as well, and it's the same thing. When you bowl, or when you're in the field, or when you're bat, you fight for every single ball.
Yeah.
If I needed 1 run to win with 10 wickets in hand and 100 balls left, and I hit the ball to you in the field, I know you're going to give your damnedest to stop that ball. You're not going to let it go through you and just have the game over and done with. Where does that come from? Is that something that comes from your childhood? Is that a family-orientated thing, or is that something that comes from within you? The competitiveness would be the word. The one word I think of when I think of your cricket is competitiveness.
Yeah.
Every ball, no matter what the situation in the game, whether batting, bowling, fielding. Just tell us a little bit about where that comes from and what you think made you that kind of player and that kind of personality.
It may have come from maybe my boxing background. When I was younger, I did a bit of boxing. I still box now here and
Was
there.
that sort of white collar, the charity?
It was. So I was doing like amateur boxing. Boxing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and I think one of the, through all the exercises and stuff like that my coaches drilled into me, like, you have to keep going, keep pushing and stuff like that. But in terms of...
So it's not maybe so much a cricket trait for you then, it's
No,
more of a Would you say you're the same as that across your general life then? Like, for example, at school, would you really work hard for every question on a test and things like that? Is that so it's not really a cricket specific thing?
No, I think in school it was a little bit different. I think I struggled a little bit in school. I wasn't really academic. I wasn't that great academically, but in terms of just doing things that I love. If it's something that I love, like I said, I become obsessed with it, and I think that's what it is. I think I remember in school as well, my form tutor said you have a very obsessive personality. So if I enjoy something, or if I'm doing something, or if I want to do something, I have a very obsessive personality, and I want to do everything that I can to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. But especially with cricket or sports in general, I'm very competitive in that sense. Like I hate losing. I'm a sort of, I know you beat me in the chest, thrashed me, but
Hammered, embarrassed.
Okay, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. But no, it was. But now it's given me, the opportunity to work even more, to work even harder now, to get rid of your undefeated.
Which we'll come on to. But just going back to that first series, and feel free to be as honest as you can with this question.
Right.
After those first couple of games that you played and the end of that first series, what did you think about the backyard game? Was it for you? Was it something that you felt you were not sure on and wanted to give another chance? Was it something you were sold on immediately and loved, or maybe didn't like? Just give us an idea of coming out of that series. Yeah. How you sort of felt over that summer waiting for the new series to start. What was your feeling? Because obviously we were new at it as well. It wasn't just yourself. It was new for all of us. Yeah. And there were mistakes made, obviously little things that we needed to iron out, details and things. But just give us an idea of your impression of the overall setup, the rules of the game, just everything about it. What was your sort of vibe with it? And be as honest as you can with that.
No, I really enjoyed it in terms of like. I really enjoyed the game. It's something to do in the winter. It's more cricket. It's more cricket in the winter, and if there's more cricket to be played in the winter, I'm not.
And it is the great thing about the indoor games we have is that it's not weather dependent. Yeah. Because obviously in the summer, even in the summer, you can have games rained off and things like that. We're not weather dependent. No. So it's obviously brilliantly reliable because there'll be a game. Yeah, exactly, and it is great in that sense, and it's a good way to do something in the off season when cricket really isn't being played much. Like, for example, I don't start nets until February. So then during that time between September and February, I'm not really playing any so it helps
sort of
almost keep you ticking over.
Yeah.
So would you say then after that first season, did you see it as a game worth concentrating on in its own right, or is it more something to just keep you ticking over in between club seasons then?
It was something to keep me going over.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have become a genuine passion
yeah.
at that stage.
Yeah, it's something that I enjoyed playing.
And if we look at the figures for that first series, you obviously only played 2 out of the 3 tests. Your figures were what I would say was quite middling. So you made a few 20s. Again, not bad scores, but didn't go on and get big scores. Took a few wickets. You know, you never got no wickets or got hammered around, but you never got a 5 for or anything like that. Quite middling.
Yeah.
And then we come on to 2021. And this, I think, was a real breakout year for you in backyard cricket. You were the top run scorer in Dan's 11 in a losing cause.
Yeah.
You were almost not fighting a lone battle. There were other players who did well with that. But for you personally, top run scorer in that series by a mile. You made at least 40 in every test. And made a big impression with the ball. Again, maybe didn't get the wickets that you fancied. But that 2021 series, did that feel like a breakout thing? When that series ended, did it feel to you like you'd really changed as a backyard player? Just tell us about that series, how you felt going into it, your own game, and how you felt after it as well on the back of that series. Because the impression for the rest of us, we were all, obviously we'll find out in a moment how it felt for you, but the rest of us, very impressed by the way you developed in that series.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. But it's one of those where when I first played with you guys, it was getting used to it because I was awful. I mean, the ball would swing so much, and
it's a horrible thing when you start, isn't it? A horrible thing.
Trying to find that control when you're bowling, and it was so hard. I remember I ended up bowling cross seam most of the time. I was like, I can't control the swing. I was bowling wide after wide, so I was like, I'll just bowl cross seam. It was one of those where the more I played, the more I understood, because you sort of know how you play. I think I understand my game as a club cricketer quite well. I feel like I understand my game a little bit more now, and I have a bit more experience. So it was sort of, once I got used to the conditions of the moving ball, and I feel like that rule of not being out LBW if you're playing a shot, I think that gives me great confidence, you know, to be able to...
Especially for someone who's good off their pads.
Yeah.
As yourself, obviously more known as a leg side player.
Yeah, so knowing that, you know, if I do miss the ball, if it hits my leg, then I'm definitely not out. So it gives me more of a confidence to go for those shots and flicks and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, so going on to, I think it was more getting used to the conditions. And once I got used to the conditions, it was adapting, you know, trying to bring in the skills from understanding my game in club cricket, and then trying to bring it into my game in the backyard.
And there are a couple of things on that series I just want to touch on with you very, very quickly.
Yeah.
The first thing would be, we mentioned the 40s. Every test in that series, I think you made, in the first test 40 exactly, the second test 44, the third test you made 50, but at the time there was a scoreboard error and we thought you'd made 46.
Yeah.
And then the last game you got 42.
Yeah.
Just give us a bit of an insight into what that's like, because it's a weird thing. It's satisfying because you're not getting low scores and you're contributing to the team and batting well. But I would imagine also a lot of frustration that there wasn't the 70, 80, 100.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about what that's like to be in a run where you were the most consistent player in the team, but perhaps never the standout innings in the team. Just tell us a little bit about that and why you think that kept happening. What was that for you that kept making that happen?
Do you know what? It is frustrating. Like you said, it's nice to know that I'm consistently getting a decent score.
Yeah, because you're clearly not out of nick, and it's clearly not out of your depth playing the game. But there's obviously something missing to going on.
I don't think it's nerves, because most of the time I don't know what I'm on. I probably know that I'm close to 50, but it's not about being nervous. Oh, I have to get to 50. I have to get to 50. It's just more. I think it's just a mental fade, and in a moment. In the moment, I just maybe lose concentration because it's quite intense backyard cricket.
It's
very
fast paced.
Very fast paced. Like, you don't get much time to, in between overs, you don't get much time to chat with your batting partner. It's very much turn around, switch. Oh, I'm facing the next ball. I've got to face 6 balls, and then most of the time you're facing 6 balls on the trot as well, because there aren't many singles.
Yeah.
It's 6 balls on the trot every other over, or every over if you do run the odd single down, or if you run the leg by or something. So it's one of those, and I feel like the brain can obviously only concentrate for so long, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe just in that moment, in that lapse of judgment, lapse of concentration.
So for yourself, it's maybe more of a concentration thing rather than anything technical that happens when you get further into your innings. It's maybe more of a sort of concentration.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think it could be something to do with that for sure. Because I don't ever feel like when I'm set, I never really feel like I'm not like, oh, I'm close to my 50. I need to try and like get to my 50 now. And then I walk off and then I'm like, oh, how many? I was like, oh, you're never going to believe it. 46, 48, 49. I was like, oh my God.
It is an interesting thing because this seems to be unique to you. Nobody else has had that level of consistent, decent but not spectacular scores. No one else has ever. It's a compliment in a way because no one else has been that, maybe apart from Ricky Borrow.
Yeah.
No one else has consistently put that many good scores together as often as you did. But no one else has also ever got them consistent scores and not gone on and got.
Yeah. It's one of those because I walk off and I think I've only made like 30, 35 or something like that. And then they say, oh,
do you know what? I would say this again as an opposing captain. From being in the field, from playing against you, I have a similar thought. You're in for a while.
Yeah.
And it feels like you've not scored that many. And you get out after a while and I think, okay, he's got 20 or 30. And then you find out it's 40, 50.
Yeah.
You do have that knack of scoring a bit quicker than people think you do.
Yeah.
And we'll come on to that because the other thing I wanted to ask you about that series is I'm just going to compare your 2021 to your 2022. 2021 series, you were the top run scorer for Dan's 11. 71% of your runs came through the leg side. In 2022, you were again the top scorer for your own team, BCE South, that you captained. Only 55% of runs through the leg side. So still leg side heavy, but a lot less. Just tell us about your evolution with your game because clearly in 2021, your game plan was very simple. Leave everything outside off stump. And just wait for them to straighten up and pick them off on the leg side. Not so much in 2022. Just tell us a bit about that change. Is that something you're conscious of? Do you think that's just a statistical freak or is that something that you're aware of?
No, it's something that I have been aware of, but I think it's something that everyone in the team have been aware of and the opposing team have been aware of in terms of I feel like they know that I'm quite strong on my legs, so then they'd bowl more outside off, so then I can't really then wait for them to bowl the bad ball to flick off. I mean, obviously there are times where they'll still give me that leg stump part volley and I'll be able to put it away. But it's in terms of like, I was aware, I think, for this year that people would focus on bowling outside off in that corridor of uncertainty.
It was certainly a plan for us to keep it away from your legs as much as possible.
And I knew that would be the case. So it was more of, so this year it was more of, or 2022, sorry, it was more of trying to come across my stumps a little bit more, like have a bit of a trigger movement. Because I think I didn't really have a trigger movement in 2021, I don't think. And then 2022, I sort of come across my stumps a little bit more so that it gives me access to the offside a little bit more.
And then obviously the big change for you in 2022, aside from obviously working on your offside game and evening it out a little bit more, the big change for you is that you became captain.
Yeah.
First series as captain. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about how that came about? Is that something you wanted? Is that something you're expecting? Just give us a little bit of idea of how you went from being a player to a leader in that sort of format.
I think it was so I was approached. I think Ricky and yourself.
It would have been myself and Rick. Yeah.
I think you two approached me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and I think it's because
did you know that was coming?
I didn't know. I didn't think it was going to come, but just because I'm quite new to the team, I think I'm quite new to the team, but also it's just. I understand why it came about when you guys gave me the reasonings and stuff. I just enjoy playing it, and I had a real passion for playing backyard cricket and cricket in general, and so it kind of made sense. Maybe I'm not the most tactical. Maybe I'm not the most tactical captain, but you know I can. I enjoy it, and anything I do, I will give it my best. And I believe that's what you and Ricky saw, that anything I will do,
100%, yeah. The reason we
I'll
offered
do my
it,
best in.
And the reason we offered it to yourself when Dan Mears chose to step down, the reason we had a sort of candidates about who could we offer it to, and And there are plenty of people that were on our sort of shortlist who we've known longer than we've known you and have played with a lot. The reason we settled on you in the end is for what we mentioned earlier, the competitiveness.
Yeah.
When we see fighting for every ball, and we thought that was something that might transmit to the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Did you have any reservations about taking the captaincy, or was it an absolute no-brainer? Or was there any doubt at all where you maybe didn't want to do it or anything like that?
There were reservations for sure, just because it's tough when you're captain and you're having to think. I thought it might mess me up in terms of my batting. I thought if I took it on, it might mess me up in that sense. You have a lot to think about. You have a lot to think about when you're a captain, and when you've got like a partnership that's building and you have to try something new, it's really difficult to then focus on your own game, but then also try and resolve an issue that's presented in front of you, but then also don't overthink it. You know, if something's try and stick to a plan for a little while longer. Maybe it might not be working at the moment, but there is something there that will happen. And it's trying to find the right balance. And I believe this experience of being as captain this year will help me next year.
Well, that was going to be the next question. Very, very simple. So the next question is a very, very simple one. Your first year as captain, how was it?
No, it was good. It was good. Obviously, apart from losing and stuff, I still felt there were moments. There were moments in every game where there were like glimmers of hope, and we lost, and that's fair enough. But I'm going to try and obviously there's negatives that you need to learn from, but there's also positives there as well, which is great. And I feel like I want to try and learn and take those positives into next year. And I feel like it will help me develop me as a leader, and also develop me as a make a few more tactical decisions, make a few more smarter decisions. Because I feel like some of the decisions that I made may have been off the cuff, like reactionary.
Is that what I'm hearing here? Is it sounds to me like you've maybe got one example in mind. Is there one moment in the series that you're thinking of in particular with that? It sounds like you might be sitting on one here.
Yeah, it's just in terms of, so when there's like a partnership building, or I've noticed that I follow the ball a lot. So if the ball is going in a certain direction, like in a certain way, like say for example, the ball's gone through backward square leg quite a lot, and there is a square leg there, but then our stick maybe like mid wicket will come across
down
the backward square leg, but then that opens up that gap. But then I'm thinking, maybe it might encourage him to try and go through mid wicket, but then you might encourage the outside edge as well. But then you have a few more. Then they pick the gap and they're like, oh no, go back to where you are. So then it's like trying to find the right balance of, making a decision, making a plan, and sticking to it. Trying to be more proactive rather than reactive. Reactive, that's it.
And you've obviously had a challenge this year that Dan Mears can also probably relate to in backyard cricket, and I can relate to in club cricket in the past, but not maybe in the backyard cricket. The captaining a losing team. Now, obviously, this Test series you captained, and it finished 3-0 to the North. What's it like trying to motivate a team full of players when you've lost the first game, maybe losing the second game? You've got good players and you're all doing a good job, but it's just not going your way.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that, how you've adapted to that, any lessons you might have learned from having to deal with a side that's maybe not in the best of form and not feeling confident.
Yeah. No, it's tough. Like, obviously, especially when you're on the back foot straight away. I feel like winning the first game, the first test, is so important. And I feel like that sort of sets the tone, because you're on the back foot straight away. Because if you win one, you only need to win one more, and then you've won the series in a 3-match series. But it is tough, but to try and motivate players and try and get them when they're feeling a little bit low, out of form, try and get them pumped for a game. You do have to. I feel like maybe I need to put more effort, like more one-to-one, like maybe take certain individuals.
Because the days go so quickly, it's quite hard to get that time.
It is. But it's like taking 1 or 2 people away and just be like, obviously speak as a group and then take 1 or 2 people away. I think maybe struggling a little bit more than others, and be like, you okay? Like, what's up? Like, talk to me and stuff like that.
And the one thing we can't say is that the captaincy affected your game, because you were clearly the leading run scorer for the South this year. In the 2 tests you played, you scored almost 40% of the runs. So it didn't affect your own game. Did you feel any changes in your own game because of the captaincy? Did you feel any extra responsibility? Or were you able to compartmentalise and just treat them as batting and captaincy, different things entirely?
Oh, in terms of when I was out there batting, I didn't think, I thought that was like a completely different thing. I'm out there on my own.
So there was no sense of, I'm the captain, I need to...
No. I felt like batting, I felt pretty confident. I was just like, I'm just going to do my best, try and score as many runs as I can for the team. In terms of captaining, I just try and get muddled up with my words. I kept that for when I was fielding and bowling. And I felt like that was when it was needed.
Because it clearly didn't affect your batting. You scored loads and loads of runs.
Yeah.
And particularly, obviously, in the second test at Horsham, more than half the runs your team made in that game. And that is one thing I've found as well. I've had 2 very different experiences in the last couple of years. I think it's super important as a captain that you're doing your job first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because it's harder to tell other people what to do if they see you failing at your own job.
Yeah.
And I've obviously had both sides of that, doing well and doing badly as a leader. It must have helped you as a captain, knowing you were in good nick, knowing that you were hitting the ball well and leading the way with the bat. Really, must have been a great boost for you.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a good feeling when you're in form. Obviously, you don't know when you will go out of form. You don't know when it can change. Yeah, you can go. It comes in like up peaks and troughs. You don't know when those troughs will come. But it's good. It is a good feeling when you're on a roll. It's good to try and keep that momentum going. And I just try to stay positive in that sense.
Yeah, and obviously the series didn't go your way in the end, but we won't dwell on that. We're going to move on now before we finish up very quickly to the key event of 2023. It is the big thing, isn't it? And you know what we're going to talk about now. The world first International Backyard Ashes series. The biggest moment in the history of backyard cricket anywhere in the world. We're going to be going to the WCG in Sydney and playing a series against Australia. And confirmed, signed, stamped and rubber sealed, Yousaf Sharif will be on the plane. You are on the plane. Just tell us a little bit about what you think is going to happen in that series, what you're most looking forward to, and what it feels like to know that you're going to play a part in an event that matters more than just the people that are going. This is a world first for backyard cricket.
Yeah.
It's a massive moment for the Aussies, for us, for everyone watching, for teams around the world. Tell us about it.
Honestly, I'm lost for words because I didn't think I was going initially. Like there were we had conversations and there was like I could maybe go. Oh no, I can't go now. I could maybe go, and it's just I think things have fallen at the right time because I know you've been trying to organise this for quite a while.
It's been 4 years worth of effort. This because of the pandemic and obviously things, and it is a lot, not just for yourself, for everybody. There's financial restrictions to it, there's social implications. You can't go out to the pub as much as you want because you've got to save money for this trip. There's work time off that's needed. There's so much sacrifice that goes into this, which you've made as well as the rest of us are making to go out there. But it's got to be worth it, hasn't it? It's win or lose. Obviously we want to win and we are going to win.
We are going to.
But it's just such an experience to say that you've been a part of.
It's amazing, to know that I'm going to be part of the first team to have an international backyard cricket, like an Ashes as well, an Ashes series.
The biggest series.
The biggest series in cricket history.
And it is. I mean, how much do you know about them? Is this something that is really going to be do you think maybe the key moment of your cricketing life, or is this something you're a bit more ambivalent about? What's it going to be like for you? What are you going to take from this experience, and what does it mean for you to go and be a part of this, you personally?
It's a big moment for me. I think this will probably be the biggest moment in my cricketing career, 100%. It'll be my biggest moment in my cricketing career. And it's just amazing to be part of, because I've actually been, I know of the WCG. I used to watch some of their videos.
So you've always been, this is not something you're aware of because we're going, you knew about them already.
I knew about them before, I knew about them already. The pitch looks amazing.
It does,
It
doesn't it?
looks
Yeah.
really good. And you know, to go out, I've always wanted to go to Australia. As it's always been on my bucket list.
Fantastic. Yeah,
So to be able to go to Australia and then also to play cricket, I'm living the dream, man. That's
and not just play cricket, but play cricket in front of the watching internet.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Which is going to be an unbelievable experience. And presumably you're looking forward to saying that you got out in the 40s in Australia as well. Which is what we're all expecting. We're expecting a pair of 40s in the test match. But yeah, obviously, how confident are you going out there in your own game, in the team as a whole? Have we got, in your opinion, an Ashes winning squad on our hands?
100%. We've got a strong squad.
It's a good side we're taking.
It is. Wow. It's a good side. Like it's. I couldn't ask for a better side, really. The people that are going with us. You've got people like yourself, got Ricky. It's two amazing batsmen and key batsmen.
You all heard it. You all heard it.
100%. He's a key batsman.
That's going to be the title of this video.
No, 100%. Two of you, the key batsmen, and you know, great leaders of the side. You and Rick, captain, vice captain.
Yourself a bit taller, I think.
No, honestly, it's going to be. We've got a strong squad. It's going to be competitive, which is what I love. And I'm looking forward to it.
It is going to be the experience of a lifetime, and it's interesting that you mentioned you couldn't pick. You just said your exact words then was you couldn't ask for a better team to take to Australia, which is funny you mentioned that because we did ask you to pick a better team, didn't we? So, for those who have not seen our podcast before, we ask every guest to choose their first 10 rather than 11. These games in Australia will be played over 10-a-side. We're asking all of our guests to pick their ultimate backyard England 10 to take on the Ashes. The only two stipulations, you have to pick yourself, and all the players you pick must have played at least one televised game so that the people at home will know who they are and will have an idea of what kind of player you've picked. Yeah. So we've only got about 5 minutes left before we run out of time, so we'll run this very quickly through for you. This is Yousaf Sharif's ultimate BCE cricket 10. We're going to go through this in batting order. Who have we got as your two openers? Who's opening the batting in the ultimate BCE team?
So the ultimate BCE team, I've got yourself and me.
Oh, I made the cut.
You made
Oh, we're opening. Oh, yes. Come on. All right. Well, just tell us about that, because there are other openers. People like BCE Patel, Sam Dennis, other players as well.
Yeah.
On a more serious, obviously I can take the mick and say you picked me because I'm amazing, but but just give us a serious point about that. Why is that instead of someone like Bijal, Sam Dennis?
I just feel like in terms of Bijal hasn't really had much experience. I haven't really seen much of him.
Only saw 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, I haven't really seen much of him in backyard cricket, so I can't really comment on him too much. Sam, I feel like he's a great player. He's a great
fantastic club player.
That's it, and that's the thing. He's a fantastic club player, and just in the backyard, it just hasn't been working out for him. And I feel like one score will do him.
Just set him up.
He will set him up.
So would it be fair to say, rather than a backyard team, if we were picking a club 11 here, Sam would be on the team?
100%.
Yeah.
He'd be opening 100%.
So who's your middle order then? Let's have a look at sort of 3, 4, 5 then. Who have we gone for as the bulk of your batting in the middle?
We've got Bevan West, Ricky Borrett and Alvin. So Bevan at 3, Ricky at 4 and Alvin at 5.
That's as good a middle order as you're going to get. And we'll touch on all of them very, very quickly individually. It's interesting that you've gone with Bevan West and Ricky Borrett because those, in my opinion, are the best two.
Yeah.
The best two. I actually think Bevan West has only played 2 test matches.
Yeah.
If he'd played all of them, I think he'd be better than Ricky. Ricky has been the best player in backyard cricket. Yeah. I actually think Bevan is better. Yeah. He's played 2 games. He got 70 in one and 100 not out in the other.
There you go, yeah.
He's a gifted player.
He is. I mean, he's so technically gifted. Mentally as well. He knows his game. Very mature for very
quite a character, isn't he? Quite a character. He's not afraid of a battle on the pitch.
No,
he likes a bit of the old.
He does, and that's good, and that's a good thing to have. But like, he's very mature in the sense that he actually knows his game. Quite a young player.
Yeah,
he knows his game pretty well, and that's always a good sign.
And you've gone with Ricky at number 4. Obviously, that's a bit of a no-brainer, and there's a lot we could say about Ricky, but we are close to running out of time. So just give us very, very quickly, just tell us what you think Ricky's best attribute is as a player.
Leading run scorer.
Is there a reason why? Do you think what about him makes him so consistent in the game?
I
What
think
is the one
he
thing
turns
about
up
his game?
in the big moments. So even if he is going for a rough patch, if he is going for a rough patch in form, he will give you. If you need him for one moment and you need him to win a game, he will be able to win you.
It's interesting you say that because again, with bat and ball, it's worth mentioning 3 Test matches have ended by Ricky Borat taking the match-winning wicket at the end. So it just backs up your point there. And obviously, we went with Alvin Sathya, somebody we weren't able to see during this year's series at number 5. You've gone with him.
Yeah.
Was that a no-brainer? Was there anyone else who pushed close for one of those? Not just for Alvin, but for those 3, 4, 5. Was there anyone who pushed close, or is this sort of a bit of a no-brainer in the middle order?
No, I think the middle order is pretty much of a no-brainer. Alvin, great player, gun player, scored a double 100 in.
What an innings that was! What an innings that was!
Great innings, yeah.
And again, we should just say as well, Alvin Sathya has been slightly unwell in recent months, and I think this is a good opportunity for myself, and I'm sure for you as well, to just wish him all the best.
Yeah, we wish him all the best with his recovery. Hope he comes back stronger, which I'm sure he will.
So let's move on to the lower order then. Talk to me about number 6 and 7. Who have we got coming in a little bit lower down?
Number 6 and 7, we've got Mata at 6.
Gone with Mata after just one game.
Just
made it into the cut already.
Yeah, because I saw potential with Mata, and he's got that spin option.
He did really ragged, didn't he? There was a lot of movement.
Yeah,
from him.
Something like that you haven't really seen much in backyard cricket.
It has been until this year when Mata played. It was only really Vamsey.
Yeah,
we've not really seen anyone else.
And he darted it in quite a lot. Didn't
he? But obviously with Mata was a lot of flight and not always landing where he wanted it to.
Yeah,
but when he got it right.
Yeah.
And showed some promise with the bat.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I thought he looked really. I mean, I know he didn't score massively, but I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really good with the bat.
So who's following then? Who have we got number 7?
We've got Yunan.
Now, I have to say with this, I know this podcast is for you and not for me, but I do have to say on a personal note, the most underrated player I've ever played with. I'm a huge fan of Yunan. Tell us about him. Why is he in this team ahead of other, maybe more fashionable bowlers who maybe get more of the credit? Why have you gone with Yunan, and what makes him an automatic pick for you?
I mean, Yunan, he's so clever. He might not be the quickest bowler, and like you said, the most fashionable bowler, but he is clever. He knows how to get a batsman. He knows how to work people and get them out. I mean, he got me out loads of times. I'm not saying I'm like a really good batsman, but he got me out loads of times, and they were really genuinely. He set me up for every single one of them.
The thing about Yunan, you're a good example of this, because it's not just that he gets the best players out. People like yourself, he got you out nicking off a lot. He gets players out in ways that they don't normally get out. Yeah. And that's the big weapon of him. He finds weaknesses that players don't know they have.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, like I say, I think he's as good in his own way as Rob Maguire or anybody else. He's a fantastic bowler, Yunan.
Yeah.
So and that was our number 7 or number 8? Was that, where did we go up to? That was number 7?
Yeah, just looking back at the footage, I mean, I saw all of his dismissals against me, and he did set me up, and great bowler, and he can bat as well. He can
hit a ball. Frustrating, I found, as a batsman. He looks better than he actually scores. He looks good, but doesn't actually get any. So we're into the tail now. 8, 9, 10. Your bowling attack.
8, 9, 10.
Who's made the cut?
Rob Maguire, and we've got Jake Butler, and James Maguire. Yeah.
It's a good bowling attack. Rob Maguire down at number 8 for a guy who's got 160 odd not out to his name. Quite low down that batting order, but as a bowler, surely non-negotiable.
No, non-negotiable.
Surely.
100% non-negotiable as a bowler. And I was thinking between Yunan and Rob, and obviously number 7 is more of an all-rounder role. And I was on the fence. I wasn't too sure, and I thought in my head, in a real game, like, you can always swap them around, right? So I think for a situation, if you want Rob a bit more higher up, you can even put Rob at 6 and Mata lower down. So he's very flexible in that sense. So that isn't his like.
But obviously,
spot.
You are picking him first and foremost as a bowler, and he is some bowler.
He is amazing. I mean, he can pick up 2-3 wickets in one over. Like, he can pick up 4 or 5 wickets, and just like that, like nothing for him, and it is amazing. And it got really good pace, and the way he swings the ball so late. It's
dips on you, doesn't it?
It's just
You think you can leave it or play outside the line, and then it in at your off stump or middle stump,
and you're gone. Yeah.
And then you've bottomed this out by going with Jake Butler and Jimmy Maguire. So before we close, we'll treat those two as a pair together. And I'm just thinking of some of the other bowlers you had available: Callum Letts, Elliot Fox, people like that. Just tell us why it is that these two have got the cut. What is it about those two ahead of people like Callum and other bowlers? What these two, both obviously not really much. They can get you the odd 20, but not really batsmen. Why have we gone with Jimmy and Jake?
Jimmy and Jake. Jake, I feel like he can offer a bit with a bat. He
does thump the odd one. Once a series, he gets a sparkling 30 on.
He does. And
once a year, you get a treat from his batting.
Yeah, but no, Jake's bowling is unreal. Like he bowls such great balls, and he can get key batsmen out, and he is always that threat, which is great. And Jimmy, I love Jimmy, and he's another bowler where you ask him to bowl something, like if you ask him to bowl, just bowl back of a length, he will bowl that back of a length, and he will do that. Yeah, he will do that job for the team. He will do jobs that other people wouldn't want to do. He does the thankless tasks, and he's accurate.
So this is a team that could win an Ashes?
This is a team that could win an
Ashes. It's a strong side. And one final word then, we are just about out of time now. One final word, do you have a message for WCG and the Australian boys before we go there for the Ashes this year? One final message before we go.
We're coming for the urn. You might as well send it back first delivery now if you can.
Do you think just cancel the flights?
Just cancel the flights. Just bring it down now. Bring it down now. First class.
Fantastic. Well, that has been the BCE Get to Know podcast, and my special guest today, Yousaf Sharif. Yousaf, thank you very, very much for being a part of this for us, and thank you for sharing the insights and wisdom and the way you see it in the game. We hope you've all enjoyed that. It's been a wonderful edition of the podcast. We will see you again next time when we'll have another guest from the Ashes squad on to talk about their life in the game and their expectations for the upcoming series. In the meantime, stay well, stay safe, enjoy your summer, and we look forward to seeing you in Sydney for the WCG versus the BCE series. Thank you very, very much. I've been Alex Smith, and we'll see you again on the Backyard Cricket England podcast.